So welcome everyone to the June New and Young Masons Club Mini Monthly Conference. My name is Bob Ray and I'm a member of the NYMC steering group. And tonight we're delighted to have the Manchester Level Club hosting this event. And it's on a very important topic as well, I'm sure you all agree. So without further ado, I'll hand you over to Brother Paul Mansell, Chairman of the Manchester Level Club.
Okay, so hello brethren, and on behalf of the Manchester Level Club, I also welcome you to today's NYMC Mini Conference. It is great to see the hand of Masonic friendship has reached across many provinces, continents and orders. We certainly hope you all feel very welcome. Tonight's subject is around something that is becoming more widely spoken about, and we all have or will experience in some point in our busy lives in some form, and that is anxiety. Feeling anxious is a perfectly natural reaction to some situations, but sometimes the feelings of anxiety can be constant, overwhelming, or can be out of proportion to the situation. And this could affect our daily lives. So tonight, we have invited a good friend and brother, David Wynn, to be our guest speaker. He is a qualified therapist in the subconscious mind. David's Freemasonry journey started back in 1984 when he was initiated into Gloriana Lodge 6334 in Hertfordshire. More recently, has become a Spanish Mason, where he holds the rank of District Grand Director of Ceremonies for the marked degree in the District of Spain. I hope you all agree that tonight's subject will be informative and thought-provoking. But can I ask that should you have any questions, you please pop them into the chat and we will pick them up during the Q&A later. So without further ado, the virtual floor is now all yours, David.
Thank you very much, Paul. Thank you to the Manchester Level Club for inviting me. And it's nice to see so many people here and also from Spain, of course. I know a great deal of you. Thank you for coming to support me. Right. We're talking about anxiety, and anxiety is indeed an important part of our lives. A lot of people come to me in my practice because I have a practice in Benidorm of hypnotherapy. I use NLP, neuro-linguistic programming, and many other methods to help clients with emotional problems. I work within the subconscious part of the mind, and I'll be explaining exactly what that is to you a little bit later. Because when they come to me and they say, I've been to my doctor and I've got anxiety. And I said, well, I'm very pleased you have, because if you didn't, you wouldn't be able to survive. A lot of people confuse emotions with negativity and think that anxiety is something that's bad. Well, in fact, anxiety is something we need. If we didn't have any anxiety, we wouldn't get up in the morning. We wouldn't do anything. We'd stay in bed. We need a bit of anxiety. We need a little bit of stress to get us moving. But like everything, it's a very powerful emotion. And if it's not managed properly, a lack of anxiety or an excess of anxiety is not a good place to be. Anxiety is just one emotion, and they're very connected with others, for example, fear. But because of the limitations on time today, what I would normally take about 2 hours to explain, I'm going to go through within 40 minutes. My idea is to explain to you the way that the conscious mind and the subconscious mind works, to explain what they are, because when you know what forms your conscious mind and your subconscious mind and how to manage your subconscious mind, then you can start to reprogram yourself, because this is all about dealing with anxiety, giving you tools which will work. We'll be talking about three. We'll be going through the peace button. We'll be talking about the grounding, and we'll be doing some PST. Now, PST might be known in English as a form of havening, okay? These are three very simple processes which we can do when we start to face anxiety. But first of all, I maybe just need to explain a little bit about what it is. So first of all, very connected to anxiety, stress. Stress is a trigger for anxiety. And stress is any demand placed on your brain or your physical body, okay? And anxiety is the feeling of fear, worry, or unease. We all know and recognize the symptoms of stress and anxiety and just how debilitating they can be. You may feel that your life is being held back, that certain issues are a constant struggle, and this may manifest in feelings of lack of self-worth and self-esteem, or maybe feelings of needing to stop smoking, for example, or lose weight, or to stop taking drugs or gambling or alcohol, to be more confident, to get a better job, to earn more money, and to relieve the feelings of anxiety and stress. You may ask yourself, what would make my life better? Well, all of us have been really hypnotized from the moment we're born, and we think that if we had more money, a better job, better relationships, more possessions, and a vast number of other things that we've been constantly told that we need, that would make us happy, and it would solve our problems. And you may think that this would be exactly what we strive for in our lives and what we want to achieve, to accumulate goods. But I'm sure we all know of people who are very successful, rich and famous, and have everything that's supposed to make a person happy. And yet they're suffering from addiction to drugs, alcohol, or constantly battling weight issues, depressed, or suicidal. Now, how can this be? Why didn't the fame, fortune, and success bring them the happiness that they were promised? Well, it's because the answer does not lie in the conscious part of the mind. If it did, we would simply analyze it and sort it out, and it would be done. What really happens is the answer lies within our inner mind or our subconscious mind. And these thoughts and images are our made-up agreements about our life. And we've developed an inner judge who constantly deems us as unworthy. And we have developed an inner victim who carries out the judgment of our inner judge. And if you think about what kind of self-talk do you engage in, how do you talk to yourself? Have you ever stopped to think of the limiting beliefs that you create for yourself? And if you had a friend who talked to you the way that you talk to yourself, how long do you think that person would remain a friend of yours? And this is really where it all starts, and this is where we need to concentrate. And I hope that you will learn today to detach from these emotional stresses and anxieties, to let go of old useless ideas and programs and agreements that have held you back and kept you from moving ahead in life. You know, anxiety can be very, very, affect us greatly. Just think of the young Masons here who are studying at the moment, doing their book, reading the ritual, getting themselves into an anxious position, thinking of the future, because anxiety is very much in the future. It's an anticipated fear. What happens if I can't remember these things on the day? What happens if I get stage fright? These things pass our minds. We become stressed. We haven't learned what we need to learn in time. And if we allow these feelings to continue, it can actually stop us or prevent us from extending and growing within ourselves. Because what is Masonry about? It's to make us better men. It's to take us out of our comfort zone. It was designed to do that so that we can learn and we can grow. And learn and improve is the word that I would like you to reconsider every time you think of a failure or something you've done wrong. In life, we do not fail. We learn. So if you can remove the word failure, go back into your past. How many of you keep rewinding on things that you wish you'd done differently or in a better way? If you were actually to be able to go back into the past with the same information that you had then, you would make exactly the same decision as you did then. You cannot go back into the past with the knowledge and information that you've now got. It doesn't work that way. In reality, the past does not exist. It only exists in your mind. So if you're rewinding and living in the past, that's not the place to be. And if you're thinking about the future, it's all in your imagination, because you're thinking about things that haven't taken place and probably won't take place. So where do we need to be? In the present. And this is what mindfulness is about. It's bringing us to the present. And this is what we will be talking about when we talk about grounding. It'll be taking us away from the past and the future and bringing us to the present. And when we're in the present, we can deal with it a lot easier. So what I'm going to do, I'm now going to talk about the three minds: the unconscious mind, the conscious mind, and the subconscious mind. First of all, it's important to understand that the conscious mind, the part that we're using now, you're listening to me, you're analyzing what I'm saying, you're thinking about it, you're using your conscious mind. You're using 10% roughly of your overall mind, the conscious mind. That's what it occupies. There's a 90% of you that's also listening to me, and that's within the subconscious mind. And that's hugely powerful. And if there is a conflict between the 10% and the 90%, who do you think is going to win? Yeah, it's the 90%. It's the subconscious mind. So I'll give you another little piece of information. 76% of all human illness, the roots are emotional. 76% of all human illness. So who's teaching us to manage our subconscious mind? All our education is within the conscious mind. There's very little done within the subconscious mind. So what I want to do today, it doesn't matter how old you are, whether you're young or you're old, we've always got things that we can learn, okay? And I'm going to talk about, first of all, the unconscious mind. Sigmund Freud divided the mind into three. The unconscious mind is the part that when conception takes place, it's the first thing that's created. The unconscious mind is the part that starts everything in motion. It then, as life progresses and we grow, it's responsible for two things. One is the management of your immune system, and the other is for automatic functions. I won't talk much about the unconscious mind, just that obviously I could be here with a cold. I don't know what's happening. My unconscious mind is sending antibodies, sorry, I mix a bit of Spanish and English, sorry. 99% of what I do in hypnosis is in Spanish. So if you hear a strange word, I apologize, okay? Antibodies, and it's attacking the virus and we don't even know it's happening. It's all unconscious. And then we've got automatic functions, you know, controlling your nail growth, or in some people, hair growth, your tension, digestion. All these things are automatic. There is no conscious thought. It happens automatically. That's within the unconscious mind, and it forms at conception. We're now going to talk about the subconscious mind very briefly, move on to the conscious mind and come back to subconscious. The subconscious mind forms between 22 to 26 weeks of life. So we're in the womb of our mother, the subconscious mind forms, okay? We'll now go on to the conscious mind and come back. When does a conscious mind form? Between the age of 5 to 7 years of age. So if you scan the brain of a young child below the age of 5 to 7, you'll find the brain wave is in alpha, which is perfect for receiving data, for learning. In fact, it's a constant state of hypnosis. They're in the imagination phase. If you say to a young child, Father Christmas, that big fat fella is going to come down your chimney and give you lots and lots of gifts from all over the world, they'll say, fantastic. But if you say to a child, say 15, they're going to say, how come a fat guy like you is going to get down my chimney? Because they start to analyze, they use a different part of the brain, okay? But something that's very important. But before the ages of 5 to 7, the subconscious mind is not protected by the conscious mind. So we're at a very vulnerable moment in our lives. So for any of you brethren which are going to have children or have very young children, or any of you who have grandchildren, please bear that in mind. Women who are pregnant from 6 months onwards and children up to the ages of 5 or 7 are unprotected. So if you say to a child, you're useless, you're worthless, you're an idiot, it goes straight into the subconscious mind and plants a little seed. And that seed will grow with life. And as it grows, it's like a tree. And the trunk of a tree is self-esteem. And the branches, as we get older, are the things that we don't want because it's been allowed to grow. Why do we know this? Because when we do hypnosis and we do regression to cause through the subconscious memory, we normally find that the incident which caused the problem was before the ages of 5 to 7. Not always, but very often. And what are we talking about? We're talking about an emotion which has joined or anchored to an event. And that is what's caused it. It might not be a very serious thing. It doesn't have to be serious, but to that child at that moment it was. So we have to be very careful. We need to protect the children. So where do we go from there? What's in the conscious mind? Well, we have the analytical part. The analytical part is the part that's always analyzing. We're analyzing constantly. As soon as we get up, we analyze. We're analyzing all the time. You could have a puncture in the tire of your car. You'd stop the car, analyze the situation and look for a solution. That analytical part of you is in your 10%, your conscious mind. Then you have the critical part. The critical part is the part that compares. So you'd say, should I do this or should I do that? Is this better for me or is this worse? So what happens is that we analyze and we compare. Then the next part is the rational part, and this is where we get into problems. All humans need to know the reason why we respond or react the way we do. When we don't know why, we become very unstable, vulnerable, and susceptible. It's a terrible thing when we don't control or understand why we're doing the things we do or react the way we do. Very often, we'll start to make up excuses which other people have used, which aren't original. For example, a smoker. I smoke because it relaxes me. Oh, that's not true. It does the complete opposite. It gives people heart attacks. It's so stressful. But it's a good excuse. It's a good reason to rationalize. So the rational part is in the 10%. What else is in the conscious mind? Our willpower. Now, willpower is very important. It's very powerful, but it's like adrenaline. It's the same as the hormone adrenaline. It's very powerful, but it doesn't last. So if you're trying to change a habit, an addiction, or a way of feeling or being using willpower, you're not going to get there. But your willpower is in your 10%. There are other parts of the mind that you can use which are much more longer lasting and powerful. IQ, your level of intelligence based through mathematics, linguistics, is how we measure intelligence. It used to be the thought that a high IQ signified success in life. That's now been discovered. It has nothing to do with success in life. Having a high IQ can give you good exam results. You can obtain maybe a better job, but that has nothing to do with success in life. EQ, on the other hand, has been proved, and I'll talk about that in a moment, which is emotional intelligence. Power of processing. Power of processing. Your conscious mind can process up to 40 bits of information a second. If we're talking about multitasking, it's between 5 and 9. So we can think simultaneously of 7 things at once. We often talk about multitasking with women, because women seem to be more apt at multitasking. The reality is that men and women have the same capacity, but because the way society is, the women have more necessity to multitask. Okay, that is basically your conscious mind. So analytical, the part that compares, the rational, your IQ, your willpower, and your processing power. We use, whenever we have a problem, what do we all do? We analyze it, don't we? We compare, we rationalize. We use our willpower. I'm going to do this. And using all of it just doesn't change anything. We stay the same. Because what we're doing is we're using the 10% of us to try and change something within the 90% of us. Okay? And the 90% will always win. So with all your streetwise, all your education, all your analytical powers, it doesn't matter how good you are, when you come to try and change within the subconscious mind, you're on a loser. So we have to think out of the frame. We can't use those tools that we've been taught to use for everything. We have to use other tools. And that's what we're going to do here today. Some of them might seem a bit strange because you think, honestly, but it's how it works. We need to use other mental tools to work within the mind. So let's now talk about the subconscious mind. Well, I didn't mention that the conscious mind has short-term memory, working memory. Short-term memory means that everything that we need to do on a daily basis, we memorize in our conscious mind. So you'll remember, hopefully, the name of your wife or your girlfriend or your children, the things that you need to do on a daily basis. But the conscious mind is selective. As we grow older, the hard disk gets full and we have to replace it and bring in new information. A lot of times people think, oh, I'm losing my memory, I'm getting old. The truth of the matter is not quite so. What's happening is your mind's becoming selective and you need to concentrate on other things depending on your stage in life. So now we'll talk about the subconscious mind. So you got that more or less clear, have you? I don't want you to worry too much about this because after this session, there is a link, and a link will take you to a video which explains this in detail graphically, so you can watch it at your leisure. Okay. Everything that we're going to be doing today, there are videos and documents in the post-session link that we will give you, so you don't need to be taking notes. It's all there. Okay. Subconscious mind, 90% where I work. What is the 90%? Well, here we have our emotional intelligence. Dr. Gardner from the 1950s became famous for putting forward the 8 types of intelligence, group intelligence, which leads on into emotional intelligence, which is basically how you manage your emotions and how you appreciate the emotions of other people. With a high EQ, that is definitely related to success in life. Okay, so how we manage our emotions is very important. I know that for some of you guys, the moment I mention emotions, you're probably thinking of those things that make you feel all fuzzy wuzzy. I'm not really talking about that. Don't be afraid of the word emotion. Emotion, what is it? It's energy in motion. Okay, it's the strongest thing that we have as humans, and our emotions are very, very powerful. We then come round to the power of processing. Now, I've already told you that the 40 bits of information that we can process in the conscious mind, in your subconscious mind, is in excess of 20 million bits of information a second. So it's 500,000 times more powerful processing power than the conscious mind. So all the things I've described in your conscious mind, subconsciously, it's 500,000 times more powerful. So when we're working in the subconscious mind, we're going to be using tools which are very, very powerful. And we all have them. They're all within us. Okay, so what's inside our subconscious mind? Well, we have emotions. As I've said, emotions are energy in motion. The root of 76% of all human illness. And how do they work? How do we program? They interact with our senses. What are our senses? Sight, hearing, taste, smell, and touch. The 5 senses. So through our 5 senses, the subconscious mind obtains its information. So a smoker looking out of the window will look out the window and see somebody smoking. Oh, I could do with a cigarette. The person comes smoker, that's closer, and he smells the smoke. Another sense. Now he really wants one. Now he creates an emotion of anxiety and reaches for a cigarette. That's what we call a state. And it's the same thing occurs with anxiety. We can think of something. We can look at the calendar and think, oh my goodness, on the 25th of next month, I've got to do the 2nd degree tracing board. So just looking at the calendar, we start to feel a little bit nervous. We see the book, we get even more nervous. We start to clean our shoes in the smell of polish. It all associates to this event. And before very long, we can start to feel anxiety. We're not enjoying it because we feel anxious. So it can be adapted to any part of our lives. So where do we go from there? The senses interact with our emotions, but as I've said, the subconscious mind is 500,000 times more powerful. So when the smoker looks out the window, he doesn't just see the smoker, he sees 1,000 different things that we consciously we're incapable of understanding or reacting, but we do at a subconscious level. And that's why we're on a loser. If we try to work with a conscious mind to manage the subconscious mind. What then happens with the subconscious mind is that these states that I've just talked about, they become a habit, and habit can then become a way of living and how we live. Now, what's the base? What do we have this for? Why do we have this subconscious mind? It's to protect you and look after you. So you might say to, well, if it wants to protect me and look after me, how come it lets me be anxious? How come it lets me smoke a cigarette, for example? Well, the reality is the subconscious mind is not analytical, it's not critical, and it's not rational. It's who we are. It's the sum of all of that. It's our personality. So it can't analyze. And that's the first clue. So every time you put a cigarette in your mouth, or every time you feel anxious, you're confirming the very program you have created. And that then forms a circle coming round, which is a belief and a value. I am a smoker. I am anxious. I am fat. I am ugly. I am old. I have pain. This is the language we give to ourselves. I can't do that. I'm useless. What are we doing? We are talking to our subconscious mind, and our subconscious mind will give us what you are saying to it. So we have to be very careful with our internal language, and that's the first thing. Right. So that's a little bit about the different minds. How do we change the programming in the subconscious mind? As I've said, it's no use going in there with your analytical, critical, rational parts. We do it by reprogramming. And how do we reprogram? Bearing in mind this huge 90% cannot analyze, it's not rational. We imagine, we use our imagination to make it simple. We imagine what we want. And we repeat that over and over again. And if you do it until you believe it, you become what you are. If you think you're good at something and you repeat it, you will be good at it. I've programmed myself to be happy. Literally. And I am. Doesn't mean to say I go walking around smiling like flying around like a butterfly. No, but I have a level of contentment. And I know that no matter what problems come my way, which they do, just like everybody else, that my level I will feel sad. It's normal, but I will pop back up and I'll maintain that level of happiness. So whatever life is throwing at me right now, I'm able to manage it in a different way and to live with a level of happiness. And how do I do that? I repeat every day, I'm happy. Every single day. I talk to myself, I talk to my subconscious mind. Now you might think, he's going crazy, it's David, he's talking to this inner self. If I was on an individual with you, I would be able to contact 70% of you with no hypnosis and enable your subconscious mind to take over a part of your body just by talking to you through a TV screen. I can't do that now because there's too many of you, okay? But it happens. So your subconscious mind exists, it's listening, and it's watching out for you. But you've got to give it the right information. I like to think of the following metaphor to describe the relationship between the conscious mind and the subconscious mind. I'd like you to think of a big ship, a huge ship, and you have the captain, you have the crew, and you have the passengers. Now, if I were to ask you who runs the ship, some of you would say captain, some of you would say the crew. Well, the real answer, as far as the mind is concerned, the crew runs a ship. They maintain it, they do the cooking, they do the cleaning, they do everything that needs to be done, the maintenance in the ship to make sure it runs efficiently. The captain is responsible for the ship. He directs the ship. So the 10% is the captain and the crew is the 90%. Who is our 90%? Well, there's 4 team leaders. There's the mental, the emotional, the physical, and the spiritual parts within us. They're your 4 team leaders. Imagine you're working on the ship and the captain doesn't allow you to sleep properly, doesn't feed you properly, gives you drugs, is always telling you that you're useless, that you can't do it. How do you think you would feel as a member of that crew on that ship? You wouldn't feel very happy, would you? How do you think your fellows would feel, because you all work together as a team? Well, everything affects. If you don't look after the physical side, the mental and emotional side are affected too. The spiritual side is the sum of the other 3. So we have to make sure that our crew are working properly. Because who are the passengers? The passengers, if they're on a happy ship, they're happy. Who are the passengers in your lives? They're your family, your friends, your contacts, people you meet. So it's very important that the captain of the ship, the conscious mind, manages in a good way the subconscious, the crew within us. So it all starts with your internal language. So just remember that, because what would happen in a ship if the captain is always giving grief to the crew? You'd have a mutiny. And the same thing that happens at sea happens in the mind. They also have a mutiny. And they get rid of the captain. They throw him overboard. And then you have people navigating their lives, the seas of their life, with nobody at the helm. And they're in an emotional mess because they're all over the place, because nobody is taking control. And we all know people like that. So it's very important, although the 10% in direct confrontation loses out to the 90, the captain runs a ship. So you consciously need to run things. Another thing that we need to understand is that when we're talking about stress, which causes a lot of our problems, there are only 2 causes of stress. There are many reasons, but there are only 2 causes. One is trying to control what you cannot. The other is trying to please everybody at your own cost. You'll never do it. So if you try, and I use the word try because try is a word for failure. If you try to control anybody else, you won't be able to, because the only thing that we can control is our thoughts, our words, and our actions. You can't control your wife or your daughter or your son. You'll never do it. And they can't control you. So when you understand that, the only thing that you can do is help, support, love, whatever, but you cannot control. So remember that. If you want stress, try to control what you can't. The only thing you can do is control your thoughts, and your thoughts aren't the truth. They're thoughts. So remember that too. Your thoughts are your thoughts. They're not the truth. And if you're not careful with your thoughts, it can come to our language. And as we talk, it becomes our actions, which becomes our habits and our destiny. So it all starts with a thought. So we have to manage that very well. Okay, right. Many times, a lot of people that I'm talking to, my clients say, well, I can't imagine anything. I can't think, I can't see anything. And it's true. A lot of people can't see things. They're not visual in their imagination, but they can imagine, they can think about things. So I'd like you all now, just to test ourselves, I'm going to ask you a few questions and see how many of you, you don't need to reply, just note it for yourselves, if you have any of these abilities. Okay. Now, the first thing I'd like you to do is to all think about your front door and think on what side is the lock of your front door. Now, for all of those who know what side the lock is, ask yourself, how do you know? Because you remember it? Because you've practiced it? Because I'm sure that you're not looking at your front door. You're not, oh, there it is, it's on the left. You know it's on the left. You picture it, you feel it, you sense it, you can remember it. So now I'd like you all to close your eyes, and I want you to see if you can see a black cat. Now, if you can see a black cat, or imagine or think about a black cat, it means that you have visual powers, okay? Now just remain with your eyes closed, and I want you now to think of a piece of music and tell me if in your imagination you can hear it. You don't need to tell me, just for yourself. If you can imagine a song like Happy Birthday or whatever, you have auditory tendencies. Now, with your eyes closed, can you imagine me stepping behind you and placing my hands on your shoulders? Can you imagine me pushing down, and can you feel or imagine the pressure on your shoulders as I push down? That's a little bit difficult, and I've done that one on purpose. You might be able to feel yourself stroking a cat or a dog. All right. If you can, you're kinesthetic. Now I want you to imagine that I'm placing now a bunch of roses right under your nose. Can you imagine smelling the scent of those fresh roses underneath your nose? If you can, you have olfactory. And last of all, and you might not like the taste, but can you imagine now me placing a spoonful of vinegar in your mouth? Can you taste it? Can you imagine the taste of that vinegar entering your mouth right now? And if you can, it's gustatory. The point I'm trying to make here, you can now all open your eyes, that it doesn't matter. If you have one, if you can imagine one of those things, then you're up to doing what we're going to do shortly, okay? What I will now like to do, I would now like to just to when we're talking about thinking and training our minds, I'd like you now not to think of a white horse. Now, I'm sure the first thing you all thought of was a white horse, because it's impossible not to think of something without thinking about it. So when we are programming ourselves, what we don't want to be doing is giving power to what we don't want. So if we don't want anxiety, what we don't say is, I don't want anxiety, because what are we saying to ourselves? Anxiety. What we say is we want peace, calm, harmony, whatever. We use the positive. That's important. Right. And I ask some of you now, when was the last time any of you actually thanked your subconscious mind for supporting you in life? How many of you communicate with that internal part of you? And do you spend more time criticizing your subconscious for not performing as well as you should? Maybe so. So it's now 21:42. So I'm going to cut this and get straight to the choice, the things that we can do now. Just take me 5 minutes. Things that we can do. There's a video about this. One is the peace button. We're going to run through it very quickly. What I want you to do now is I want you to think of something pleasant. And the way we do this, if you're ever feeling anxious, is you can use this wherever you are. Doesn't matter if you're with people, on your own, in a bar, in a restaurant, wherever, you can do this. It's called a peace button. And the way we do it is we breathe. We breathe deeply through our nose, we fill up our lungs, we count to 3, we exhale through the mouth, and when we have no air, we just touch our finger together, close our eyes, and feel peace. It takes practice. There is a video on this, which I'll give you. It explains it, what to do, how to do it, because I know we're short of time, so I'm going to refer you to the video. There's also a section on, and you need to practice that 20 times a day, because the brain is like going to the gym. If I go to the gym and I go and lift 50 kilos, I'm going to do myself an injury. If I go to the gym every day and I lift 10, 15 kilos, 20 kilos, 30 kilos, eventually I will lift for 50, and everybody say, oh, Dave Wynn's tough. He's not tough, he's just practiced a lot. The mind is the same. You can't expect to do one peace button and take yourself out of a panic attack. Won't happen. But if you do it over and over again and you install it within your subconscious mind, yes, it will. It's very effective. Breathing is very important. Everybody thinks breathing is very important. It's physiological. When you breathe in deeply through your nose and you push out your tummy, really breathe deep, your diaphragm drops and it touches the vagus nerve. And the vagus nerve is responsible for the communication of serotonin, endorphins, and dopamine, the good feel factors, the calming factors. So that's what you're doing. You're stimulating that by breathing. It's also the communication between your conscious and subconscious mind, concentrating on your breathing. It's explained in the video. The next thing that we need to talk about is grounding. What is grounding? Well, grounding is a simple but effective tool to detach you from the emotional pain that you're going through. And there are 3 types of grounding. There's mental, where you focus your mind. There's physical, focusing your senses. And there's comfort, where you comfort yourself in a positive way. There is a document which explains how to do this. I personally, what I tend to do, if I'm feeling anxious, I need to bring myself back to the present. Because where are you when you're anxious? What are you thinking about? You're thinking about something in the future. You're living in the future. You're allowing it to take over. So bring yourself back. It's a way of bringing back, giving you time to do your peace button, do your TPS or your PST, and that will then help it. These are 3 tools that you can use. So I personally, if I'm doing something and I need to bring myself to the present, I will use my 5 senses that we've just done. I will listen around me, what's happening, open my eyes, stare at something, focus on something. I'll feel the weight of myself in the chair. I'll feel my feet on the ground. Bring yourself to the present. When you do this, what are you doing? You're refocusing your mind. You're taking it away from the anxiety and you're bringing it to the present. Okay? There are many, many things that you can do. They are all listed and you can read that and it's very obvious what to do. Okay? And if any of you have a problem with this, you can come back to me privately and I can go through it with you on a one-to-one or however you want, and we'll go through these 3 things. I'm very aware of the time, so I'll move on. The last one is PST. PST is a way to reduce anxiety and stress and increase serotonin in a matter of minutes. And what's great about this is it's like heroin, that serotonin is cumulative. So once you build up a level within you, it stays there. It doesn't keep going down. So it's very, very useful. It's something you can practice on a daily basis, okay? And you'll find it's a simple step. It's all about repeated touches to parts of the body combined with specific eye movements, which the eye movements are for using different parts of the brain. If you suffer from vision sickness or movement sickness and you can't move your eyes, as per the video will show you, think of a song, hum a song. It's the same thing. You're using again different parts of the brain. There is a video which explains it all. It's great. We use these 3 things for everything that I do in our sessions, these 3 tools. It's not just for anxiety, it's for everything. Because they are basically bringing you to the present, they're retraining and they're reprogramming your mind. Because the thing that I didn't mention, well, I do want to mention, human beings cannot be peaceful and have another strong emotion at the same time. You cannot be angry and peaceful. You cannot be scared and peaceful. You cannot be nervous or anxious and peaceful. The idea behind the peace button is that you choose what you want. I want to be peace. I want peace. So you program yourself at the time that you need it. I've programmed it to such a state that if I just breathe in deeply through the nose, I'm already in a state of relaxation because I do it every day. I do it with my clients. Okay, but it really works. And it's a life changer. And when you are talking to yourself, when you have to make a decision, say for example, you're fat and you want to lose weight, the mental emotional part is so important, but you have to visualize what you want. I want to be thin. I am thin. And you look in the mirror and you say, I am thin. And your conscious mind is looking at you laughing. Say, what are you talking about? You fat, you ugly old twit. And you can hear your conscious mind talking away, the judge, and the victim saying, yeah, I'm sorry, I'm fat. No, you tell it to shut up. And you talk to your subconscious mind. And you look at yourself and you say, I am slim. And you repeat it every day. Obviously, you have to eat less. You can't just do this without doing anything about it. But the two together are very powerful. Everything that we do emotionally affects us physically. Hearts, lungs, blood pressure, everything. It's so important to manage our emotions. I've cut it really, I'm going to have to cut it now because of time. I've run over a little bit on the explanation of mine, I'm sorry, but everything is in the link that we're going to post now. I'm ready for any questions if anybody wants to give me any questions.
Thank you, David. A fantastic talk, very insightful, and I actually don't mind that you went over. I think I could listen to you for another hour, in fact. And I keep telling myself that I'm slim and I do need to eat less, but that's for another time. But I do have a few questions that have come up in the chat. But actually, I'm going to start off with one, if you don't mind, a personal question of mine. And I've noticed that stress and certainly anxiety and mental health is being spoken about so much more in the press, in the news, by each of us, in fact. Do you think that these also act as triggers that can trigger more stress or anxiety that you may not have known was there? You talk about people who smoke and they might see someone smoking or indeed smell the smoke, then all of a sudden they want a cigarette. Do you think actually that's a trigger? So the idea to talk about stress and anxiety actually triggers more stress and anxiety.
Definitely. And I think one of the biggest things that the triangle of mal, or the triangle of bad, is fear, anger, and guilt. Fear, anger, guilt. Those are the three that you need to be very careful with, because they are the doorways to so many things. So when we're talking about anxiety, what we're really talking about is how fear has been used recently over the last 18 months. We've all been exposed to fear. We've all been terrified every time we turn the news on. There's 15,000 more people being infected. You know, it's the end of the world. And we feel this. I have people, we were on for many months, we had to be in by 10 p.m. I used to get clients coming to me, a lot of clients saying, I get indoors, I get in before 10 o'clock and I've closed all the windows and I look out the window. I'm thinking, hang on a minute, what are you saying? Well, at 10 o'clock, there's a virus. Literally, even though it's consciously, it's ridiculous, subconsciously, we feel secure in our homes. So what's happening is we're getting people who are afraid to go out. They only feel secure when they're home or when they've got a mask on or whatever. So there's been an awful lot of fear for whatever reason. I'm not decrying it. I'm just saying that we have had a belly full of fear over the last 18 months. And those are repercussions which will start to come out now. As people get back to work, as people start their lives, they're going to have to leave the security of the home behind and get back to what they used to do. And it's not going to be easy. So yes, very much so. We're very affected by what's happening around us. But just remember that you are your own ship and you are the captain of your ship. You are not the captain of anybody else's and nobody's the captain of yours. So it's really down to you.
Thank you. We've got a question from Darren Fletcher, who's from the Manchester Level Club. So Darren has rheumatoid arthritis, and I know you mentioned that the root of 76% of all human illnesses is in the mind. Is that a condition of the mind?
Right. That's a very, very good question. It's not a condition of the mind, but the mind, I work a lot with pain, chronic pain relief. Okay, so pain, what is pain? Pain is a signal from the brain. It's not a physical thing. We feel it, but it's a message from the brain to protect us and warn us. Unfortunately, when we get chronic illnesses, we're still receiving the messages and there's nothing that we can actually do about that. but we can negotiate with that part of the subconscious mind and mediate relief. I do it a lot. Is it 100%? No, but it's a 60 or 70% level that you can reduce or eliminate chronic pain. I've had it done with me. I suffered back pain all my life. I don't suffer any pain at all now. So pain, there's no doctor in the world that can take your pain, take it, look at it, say, oh, it's 100 grams, it's a blue color. Oh, it's a 9 out of 10. It doesn't exist. It's like love. If I say to you, put your hand out and show me the love that you've got for your child, you can't do it. It doesn't exist. We feel it. It's part of us. It's important. We would lay down our lives for it, but you can't see it, but it exists. Pain is very similar. Okay, so pain is a big one. So if that gentleman, because I can't see you all, if he wants to get in contact with me, we can do something over Zoom together and see if
fantastic. Yeah, we'll pass your details on to Darren. That'd be fantastic. I think you did confirm this right at the end of your session, but Amy Rainbow from Sussex Lodge number 17. Do you recommend affirmations or meditations of favourable future outcomes?
Okay. Great. Just remember this, emotions precede thought. The emotion is always the key. We can repeat to ourselves every day in every way, I will get better and better as an affirmation, and that's fine, but you're not going to get anywhere with it. But if you feel it, you believe it, and you give the affirmation, because the emotion comes from the reptile part of the brain, which is the oldest part of the brain. It's in us as human beings, okay? Whereas the thought comes from the frontal lobes, so it comes afterwards. So combine the two, but always precede it with emotion. So feel what you're saying, believe it, and it's powerful stuff, yes.
Absolutely. And a question from Sebastian Moldovan, who is also from the Manchester Level Club. So he wanted to ask that.
Yes, I'll just say it very, very fast. Because I pressed enter by mistake. I didn't finish it properly. I was just thinking when you said that, thank you very much, first of all. And I was thinking when you said that emotions are energy, I was wondering if then the energy can be, is that something that is measurable, that energy, or brain waves, and if that's true, then is there a way to manipulate that, to increase it, or to actually with something, I don't know.
Yeah, measurable is difficult. When you're going to do, for example, the PST, you need to say to yourself from a 1 to 10, how do I feel right now? How sad am I? Am I a 4 or a 5 or a 7? You need to give yourself a measurement tool so that when you've finished it, you then see how you feel. The only person that can measure that is you. Nobody can measure your emotion, but you feel it. All right? It's not something you can tap into.
So there are no drugs.
Pardon? Sorry?
Involved. No drugs or medicine or anything.
I mean, look, obviously drugs are very important. I'm not denying that, especially with clinical depression and things like that, where it's chemical. But when we're talking about anxiety, what are we doing if we actually give ourselves a tablet? Are we actually going to the root of the problem? Are we actually reprogramming, or are we just dampening it? That's okay in an emergency, that's good. But I know people have been on anti-anxiety tablets for 10 years. And then if you look at what it says, the side effects, then it's understandable that people have got other issues and problems. So you have to treat, I believe, medication. It's a big business. There's a lot of money to be made. I will get shot for saying this, but you be careful with the tab. It's very quick. If I go to a doctor tomorrow and I say, look, I'm feeling really miserable. My cat died 2 years ago, and I'm still suffering. Toma. He'll give me a pill. In Spain, for sure. All right. And a lot of the problems that we have are people who are actually addicted to the anxiolyticals. It's powerful stuff, and they have side effects. So just be careful with that. I'm not a doctor. I'm not saying no. All I'm saying is think about this. We can actually do a lot of reprogramming ourselves. You know, we really can. Does that answer your question?
Yes, and in a very positive, hopeful way. So thank you very much. Very inspiring. Thank you. Thank you.
Thanks, Sebastian. Thanks, David, as well. I think we've got one final question, just super conscious of time, and this is from Philip Titterton, also at the Manchester Level Club. But if we accept that we all have negative emotions, do you recommend a way that we can use or re-educate these emotions to stimulate a positive response or approach?
First of all, we do not have negative emotions. All emotions are important. Fear is important. If we don't have fear, we'll cross the road without looking. If we don't have anxiety, we won't get up in the morning and do any work. If we don't have depression, we'll never have moments to just calm down, relax, and recharge. Okay, all emotions, there's nothing, when we talk about negative energy and positive energy, the yin yang, really strictly, truly, there is no negative emotion. Even anger, we need anger sometimes to defend ourselves, but it's all about balance. All about balance, managing your emotions. If you want more libido, whack up that emotion. If you want less stress, lower it. They're your emotions, and we can, if we work at it, manage our emotions. Obviously, it's not easy, but it can be done. Okay?
That's great, thank you. I think that's us for all the questions this evening. Thank you, brethren, for your questions this evening. David, thank you once again.
Very well.
A very inspiring talk.
I'm sorry, I should have gone through a little bit more, but it's on the video.
It's on the videos. Everyone, if you look in the chat, you've got the link to
hypnotic
the
audio for you, by the way. So the audio, can I just say about the audio one thing? Do use earphones or earplugs with your phone or whatever. You know, if you fancy just a bit of relaxation, just to calm yourself down a bit, it's a great little audio. I think it's about 15 minutes. It is hypnotic, so don't do it while you're driving a car. It does warn you about that, okay? Find a nice place, listen to it. I've got loads of them, but this is great for anxiety, okay? And use earphones because the music is binaural beats. Binaural beats, just in case you're not aware, is one frequency in one ear, one frequency in another. The mind or the brain can't take in two frequencies and converts it into one, which is alpha. Alpha is ideal for relaxation and for working with the subconscious mind. Because just one thing I did want to say, when I'm doing hypnosis, just be aware of one thing. I cannot control anybody. I cannot change anybody's mind. The only thing I can do is make suggestions of change, which if the subconscious mind of that person accepts, and it will never accept something that is harmful against their morals, their religion, or anything like that, right? Will not accept it. But if it accepts it, then we get the change. So that's how we work with hypnotherapy. We get to that place within the subconscious mind, just between the senses and the emotions, and we make suggestions of change to change that programming. And the great thing is, and which I haven't had time to explain, is that is very protected. So when you make that change, you consciously, it'd be very difficult to change it. That's why it works so well with smokers. So if they change it, they walk around my office, they might want a fag, but the subconscious mind will turn around and say, not now. And it's 90%. So that's how it works, okay?
Brilliant, fantastic. Thank you once again. I'm going to pass you back over to Brother Paul Mansell, who will wrap up the session. Thank you once again, Brother David Wynn.
David and Hits, great, David, great insightful session. Thanks for doing the Q&A, but it was great just to watch everyone just fixated to the screen. It just shows that everyone was just really taking in all the conversation, etc., and all the points that you were saying. So I cannot thank you enough for obviously your time this evening, and I'm pretty confident that there will be a follow-up, judging by you obviously got so much more to give and hopefully willing to give. So hopefully we'll follow up on another session further down the line.
You give everybody that link, please, because the
link is in the chat. We are a couple of minutes away from wrapping up. So if anyone wants to click on the link, even if it's a case of getting it open in your browser and you want to visit it just as we close, please click on it now, then whilst it's still there. But distinguished brethren and brethren, time prevents formal toasts and responses this evening. But we would like to show our appreciation for your support for this important topic. If you are interested in proper or even flowery toasts, then please check out the Manchester Level Club YouTube channel, where you will find some great examples from our learning sessions. But for tonight, I will content myself by asking not just the brethren of Manchester Level Club, but everyone here tonight to join me in a toast of Masonic friendship and support. Masonic friendship and support.
Masonic friendship all the time.
friendship.
Thank you, Paul. Thank you, David. Tremendous evening. Well done. Thank you.
Thank you.
Just stick with us a sec, Francis.
No problem.
Thank you, brethren. I'm also going to want the absent brethren toast, as I think especially now with people in isolation, anxiety is obviously raised massively. So by the leave of the Worshipful Master, to offices of the United Grand Lodge, to the offices of the Provincial Grand Lodge, the brethren of the MLC and the brethren of the New and Young Masons Club, and all visitors, guests and brethren present. It's my honour this evening to propose a toast to our absent brethren. Our town bells have stopped ringing. The sky's turned from black to blue. Without you, our lodge is empty, so we're making this toast to you. For brethren absent in isolation, afraid of what's to come, you're not alone or forgotten. Together, we're a family. Together, we are one. If we learn of an anxious brother when hard times fill his day, we're honour bound to help him in each and every way. If he tells you of his mental struggles, be a brother loyal and true. Do unto him as you would have him do unto you. To all our absent brethren, we'll keep you in our mind. Should we find a brother feeling down, let's be helpful, let's be loving, let's be kind. For when at last they return to us, as they walk through the open lodge door, we shall rejoice again at our social boards, for our lodge is whole once more. Brethren, I ask you to charge your glasses as a toast to absent brethren and all brethren who may be suffering mental, health or anxiety issues. We are here if you need us. To all our absent brethren.
Absent brethren.
Absent brethren.
Craftsman's work of days done, the brethren now must part. A tireless toast our master cries to warm his faithful heart. For though we go our separate ways, our bond is ever strong. The magic of the mystic tide will draw us back ere long. Until then, think each time you meet a brother down on luck, whose life is marked by poverty, perhaps by illness struck, that if not for the grace of God, I might walk in his shoes. I wonder how much I can spare to help him meet his dues. And spare a wish for brethren who through no fault of their own may find themselves in foreign lands and laboring alone. That once the day shall come when they no longer need to roam, may each enjoy a swift and happy voyage to his home. Long may our lodges welcome craftsmen traveling to the east, and may our secrets guide good hearts until each soul's release. To wing its own way heavenward, this heartfelt words ingrain. We're happy to meet, sorry to part, happy to meet again. Worshipful Master, Assistant Provincial Grand Master, Officers of the United Grand Lodge, Officers of the Provincial Grand Lodge, brethren all, by command of the Worshipful Master, I now give you the time and honor and final toast of the evening. To all poor and distressed Freemasons, wherever they may be, on the land, on the sea, or in the air, a speedy relief from their afflictions, and a safe return to their native land, if they so desire. To all poor and distressed brethren.
All poor and distressed brethren.
Thank you, Carlos, and a massive thank you to the Manchester Level Club for hosting this evening's event. Really fascinating discussion and insight, so thank you very much for that. Brethren, we are still looking for new and young Masons clubs from around the UK to deliver these events throughout the summer months. If your club is interested in doing so, do get in touch with Worshipful Brother James Hopkins via email on james@nymc.org.uk or via the NYMC socials. That is all for this month's mini conference. Keep an eye out for the details for our July event. Thank you to all of you for joining this evening, and bid you good night.